Hey everybody, welcome to the second part of assignment 5, which is part B, and this is starting the modeling process, and in this video we're going to be talking about modification commands. This is a video assignment, and so what I'd like you to do, just like part A of this assignment, I'd like you to follow along, and essentially your assignment is going to be to create identically whatever we create in this video and submit that for your assignment, okay? The intent of these assignments is to just kind of get you modeling, and I think the best way to do that is just to follow along what I'm doing, okay? So we're going to talk about modification commands today, and we're really going to start with creating some model geometry. So we're going to draw a few things and then we're going to modify it, okay? And again, essentially, if you just follow along with this video, do exactly what I do, save your file and submit it to Canvas, you'll get full credit. So the first thing we're going to do here is we're going to create a new file. And I'm going to choose the architectural template here, and I'm going to hit OK. And what we have here is a completely blank drawing slate again, okay? And the first thing we're going to do is just draw a little bit of geometry, and we're going to make it fairly simple. The first video, I went a little longer than I anticipated, so it was about 30 minutes. And this video, I'm going to move a little bit quicker, okay? So I'm not going to point out everything like temporary dimensions and object snaps as much. More so, I'm just going to move through the commands. So I'm going to click on wall first. And I'm going to use my line tool, and I'm going to click here, and I'm going to draw a 90-foot wall. Enter. I'm going to draw, my next segment will be 40 feet, click. I'm going to come out here and line up my bottom segment with my top segment, click. And I'm going to finish that off using my endpoint, snap, click, escape. The next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to create another line here, another wall line, and I'm going to click, and I'm going to draw it just above the first rectangle here, click. And I might have done that kind of quickly, but this line is 13 feet from this line, okay? I am going to draw some vertical segments here now. So architecture, wall, click, and I'm going to use my line tool to draw some more walls. So click, and I'm just get these pretty close, okay? So this will be 40 foot long, enter. Okay, so you want to have something that looks like this when you start this assignment, okay? And now I'm going to show you how to modify some of these things. So modification commands will allow you to take geometry that you've already drawn within your model, and it will allow you to modify it. Okay, so things like copy, move, offset, rotate, those are all considered modification commands, okay? And especially considering Revit is a software where you will create something and then you revise it to get where you want it to be. You will use a lot of modification on geometry that you create. So these modification commands are pretty important, okay? So I'm going to come up here to the Modify tab, which is where all of our modification commands are located. I'm going to click on that one time, and you're going to see all of our modification commands right here, okay? So we have, I'm going to go through them. We have align, we have move, we have offset, we have copy, we have mirror, we have two mirrors actually, we have rotate, we have trim, we have split, and we have split element, just split element, and we have split with a gap. We have array, we have scale, we have trim and extend a single or multiple elements, and we have pin, okay? So I'm going to go over most of these, but not all of them, all right? And I'm not going to spend a huge amount of time defining what these things do. I'm just going to show you how they work, and I'm going to have you perform the action in the assignment. I think the first video that you likely watched earlier in the week should define what these are, and I'm just going to help you execute them here, okay? So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to copy some objects. I'm going to use copy, and then I'm going to go to align and probably to move, okay? And copy will allow you to copy an element. Now, the way that I like to work through our modification commands is, generally speaking, I like to select the object I'm going to modify first, then I initiate the command, click, and then I execute it. Okay, so if I want to copy this, I click, I move in the direction I want to go, and I type in how far away I want it to be copied. So 10 foot, enter. Okay, and then I hit escape. So I pick, I initiate, and I execute. That's going to be sort of the order I do things in. Okay, so to copy something, which I just did here, I'm going to copy this element. I click on it. I click on copy. I specify a base point by clicking, moving in the direction I want to go, and I'm going to click at 9'6". Click. Okay, that is our copy. All right. So the next command I'm going to use is called move, and move will allow me to move objects. Again, I like to select an object, click on move, click a base point, move in the direction I want to go, and type a dimension. So 20 feet, enter. Okay. If I wanted to move that same object, I could click on move again, but I'm going to hit escape. I want to move this object over to here. So I'm going to click on the object. I'm going to click on move, specify a base point by clicking, move in the direction I want to go, and let's type in 50 feet. 50, enter. Okay, I'm going to hit escape. Again, just follow all of the moves that I make here, and you will get full credit for your assignment. Okay, so we can copy objects, any object. We can move an object, which we just did. Okay, I want to move several objects at one time, so I'm going to click on one object. I'm going to hold Control. That will allow me to select a secondary object. Click. I now have two objects selected. I'm going to click on move, click a base point, move in the direction I want to go, and type 5 foot, enter. Okay, so not only can I move one object at a time, I can move multiple objects. Escape, escape. All right, so we've talked about copy and move. I want to talk about align. All right, align, A-L-I-G-N, will allow me to take one object and align it with another object. Okay, what that means is, for example, if I want this line to directly line up with that object above it, I can use align. Okay, I'm just going to click on this and move it, but I'm going to show you a shortcut move. I can use the long version of move by clicking on the icon and clicking and moving in the direction I want to go. But I can also do a move that's called a nudge. This is something in AutoCAD that we didn't have available to us, but in Revit we do. So to nudge something, which is a move, I can click on it, and I can use the arrow keys on my keyboard. I'm going to use the left arrow key, and I'm going to nudge this object over. Okay, I'm just pressing the arrow key. Okay, I'm going to nudge this object over to the right. I'm pressing the right arrow key. Okay, I'm going to hit escape. Align will allow you to take one object and align it with another. So for example, I'm going to zoom in here a little bit. If I wanted to take this object and align it with the edge of that object, I would use align. So I click on the align tool. Now I'm going to bring you down here to the shorten command line and illustrate something. If I didn't know what to do next, I could look down here and it says, please select the line or point reference for alignment. So I'm going to select the object I want to align to. Click. It sets a point, and it sets a point and it shows me visually where that's going to be. I click the second object I want to align to that first object. Click, and they align one another. Okay, I can align anything to anywhere. So I can come up here, click on align. I can click, this is my alignment point, click the top of this, click, and it aligns. Okay, I could click on align. I could click on this line, click on the top of this, click, and it aligns. Zoom out a little bit. Okay, I could hit escape and I could hit align, and I could choose this side of the rectangle, click, align that, click, and they align. Okay, I'm going to do one more alignment, click, align to the bottom of there, click, and they align. Okay. Okay, so we have copy, we have move, we have align. I'm going to show you offset. Okay. I'm going to click on offset. This requires an input before I use it. So what distance do I want to offset? 1 foot seems good, but I could type in 4 foot, enter. Okay. And now I just hover over an object and it will take this first object and it will create a copy 4 feet away from the second object, 4 feet away, and create a second object. Click, click, click. See, if I hover underneath, it goes below. If I hover above, it goes above. And you can't see it because there's an object there, but click. This side, it goes to that side. This side, it goes to that side. I'm just clicking. If I want to change the offset, I could hover over here, select it, type 10, enter. Click, 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 and there we go. Okay, I'm going to hit escape. Now, if you had made a mistake, I want to remind you, you can undo things. So if I click undo, watch what happens on the screen. Undo. I can also redo things, right? Undo, redo. I can also delete something. So if I had accidentally deleted, or I made a mistake and I want to delete this wall, I can click on it and I can hit delete on the keyboard. Delete. I don't really want to do that, so I'm going to hit undo. Okay. Now, before I go any further, I really probably should save this file, so I'm going to do that right now. File, save as, and I'm going to choose a project. And we're going to save it in the same place that I saved my previous assignment, which was the drawing command. And this one is going to be called modification command. Save. Okay. And again, if you just copy everything that I've done on the screen, you'll get full credit for this assignment. Okay. So we have align, we have offset, we have copy, we have move, rotate. I'm going to rotate an item now. I'm going to click on rotate. I'm going to select an item. Okay. I'm going to hit enter and my rotation begins. Now, I just want to point out that I did my operation the opposite direction. So instead of selecting the object, clicking on rotate, and then executing, I clicked on rotate, then I selected the object, I hit enter, and now I'm going to execute. Okay, so you can do it either way, but I've chosen to, show you both directions. Now, I prefer to select my object first. I just feel like the command works better, but you can do whatever you need to do. So now I'm going to click to specify kind of a base point or a stationary point for rotation. I'm going to move my cursor, okay, and I could click or I could type in an angle to rotate. So that shows 60 degrees, but I could type in 30, enter, and it rotates that object 30 degrees. Okay. Okay, I'm going to do one more rotate. I'm going to select the object, click on rotate, and my rotation command is initiated. I'm going to click to specify a stationary point, move it in the direction I want it to rotate, and I could type, 15, enter, and it rotates 15 degrees. Okay, I'm going to hit escape, and I'm going to zoom extents by typing ZE, and here's what we have so far. All right. One thing I do want to point out before I go any further is that these commands can be initiated with a keyboard shortcut. So if I wanted to rotate something, I could select an object and the keyboard shortcut is shown after the command. So rotate, RO. So right now it's selected, I could type RO and I would initiate a rotate. Okay. If you hover over any of these icons or if you look in the course manual, you'll see all of the shortcuts. So align is AL, move is MV, offset is OF, copy is CO, rotate is RO. Okay. All right. Our next command is going to be mirror. And mirror will allow you to take one object and mirror it about an axis and create a copy of that object. So perfect example of what is shown here in this little video. Okay, I want to take a door and I want to mirror it about a wall to create a second door. In our assignment here, I'm going to take this wall and mirror it about this wall and create another copy over here. Okay, so I'm going to click on first of all, I'm gonna go the route I like best. I'm gonna click on the wall that I want to mirror, which is this one. I'm gonna click on the mirror command. I'm going to click on my wall here that I want to mirror about. Now this becomes a sort of axis. So when I mirror, this wall will be mirrored about this line that I click on, and it will be the same distance from here that will be here. Okay? Sorry about that, guys. We had a little bark happen. So there is a mirror that just happened. Okay? If I continue on, I can create more mirrors. But what I just performed there was mirrored about an axis, okay? Okay, so both of the mirror options or commands will allow you to mirror about an axis, okay? The first one that I just showed allows you to use a pick to select that axis. The second one that I'm going to show you allows you to click and sort of define an axis, okay? So let me show you what that means. I'm going to take, let's do this one again, I guess. So I'm going to click on this wall, and I want to mirror it about this wall. So I would come up here and I would click on draw the axes, click, and instead of just picking, I'm asked to specify kind of a line, right? So click once, click twice, and then that mirror happens, okay? The best way that I can sort of explain why you would use one over the other is if you have something available to pick, okay? So what does that mean? It means that if there is an element like a wall right here, and I want to mirror about this wall, then the pick option would be great because I can pick that wall as an object to mirror about, okay? If I want to mirror about space, meaning I want to take this wall, but I want to mirror it about an invisible axis in the center of the room, then drawing an axis is a better option because there's nothing there to pick, okay? But essentially, both of the mirror commands, you get the same result. It's just how you perform it that is different, okay? All right, let's talk about trim. Trim, if you are an AutoCAD user, is essentially like the fillet command in AutoCAD. It will allow you to take two objects and bring them together at a squared off corner, right? Just like that video shows. So we're going to trim a few things here. I'm going to click on trim. I also, as you can see, could have typed TR on the keyboard. Click, and I'm going to click one object, click a second object, click, and I've just trimmed. Click one, click two, and I've just trimmed it. Unjoined and trimmed here. Click one, click two, it trimmed. Click one, click two, and it trimmed. Click one, click two, and it trimmed. Okay, so trim will allow you to take any two objects, whether they have crossed over one another or there's a gap between them, and trim them off. So click once, click twice, trim. Click once, click twice, trim. Okay, now I'm just going to I'm going to show you this, but I'm not worried about you doing this in the assignment, so skip this one. But trim, I've been trimming objects that are not touching, but objects that touch and extend past one another, I can also trim. So trim, click once, click twice, and I'm done. Okay, I'm going to hit escape and type ZE on the keyboard, zoom extents, and this is what your assignment is looking like so far. The next modification command that we're going to talk about is going to be split. I'm not going to go over array, and I'm not going to go over these two trim commands because, I mean, to be honest, I think maybe I've only used these once or twice in my entire career using Revit, and it's likely been at school to show somebody how they works. Really, all you need is this trim, TR, and you will function just fine in Revit. Okay, so I'm going to split, and I'm going to click on that, and a little knife pops up here, and I'm going to zoom into a wall, and split will allow you just to break an object in two. So I click, right? That split was 25 feet from the corner. Let's do another 25 feet, click, and essentially I'm hitting escape. Essentially what I've done here is I've just split this into pieces. Okay. The next split I have available to me is split with a gap. So I can click on split with a gap, all right? And I just hover over that line where it was split before and I move my cursor. Let's do another 25 feet. Click, and I zoom in there and you see a little gap was split. Okay, so the first split does not leave a gap and the second one does. Escape, escape, ZE, and there we go, zoom extents. If you're feeling kind of crazy and you want to see what this model looks like in 3 dimensions, we could come over here to our little default 3D view, click on it, and this is what your model is looking like in 3D so far. To pop back into floor plan view, which is what we're going to do, I'm going to click on this little exit, close, and here we are. Okay, so we have talked about align, we've talked about move, offset, copy, we've talked about the 2 mirrors, rotate, trim, we've talked about split and split with a gap. I'm going to talk about pin, and then I'm going to talk about scale, and we're going to leave it at that for today. Okay, so pin is essentially like lock in AutoCAD. If I click on an object and I click on the pin, the thumb pin here, click, okay, pin will lock an object into place and it won't allow me to move it. So now if I click on this and I choose move, click, click, it says, hey, you can't do that, right? And I can't do that because it's pinned down. So pinning will allow you to take an object, pin it down so it can't be edited or moved. So if you have something very important in a model that you don't want moved, deleted, rotated, scaled, you're going to pin it down, okay? And by pinning it down, it lets others know not to move it or alter it, okay? So I pinned down this portion for the assignment, and I want to pin down a couple of other things. I want to pin down this, this, and this, all right? I can click here, I can hold down Control on my keyboard and click, click, or I can hover over this one piece of wall, and because it's connected at these 2 corners, I can hover, I can press tab one time, tab, click, and select them that way, escape, escape, or I can click and hold my mouse in space and drag a selection window over those 2, hold down Control, and grab that one. Okay, so my intent is to select these objects. I can come over here to pin, click, pin those objects in place and hit escape. Okay, final thing we're going to talk about today, and it's going to require us to generate one little piece of geometry, is the scale command. Okay, I'm going to come over here to architecture, click, I'm going to click on wall, I'm going to come over here to rectangle, click, I'm going to zoom in here and I'm going to generate a little rectangle right in the center of this one. Click, move in the direction I want to go. It's going to be, let's do a 10 by 10. 10 by 10, click, there we go, escape, escape. Actually, I want one side to be 11, so I'm going to click on this. I want it to move out a foot. 11, enter. Escape, escape. Okay, so I've created my object and I want to scale it. So I want to make it larger or smaller than its original size. All right, so to use the scale modification command, I'm going to go to modify. Okay, and following kind of my procedure, I'm going to select the object I want to scale. The scale option is available here. I'm going to click on it. And the way that scale works is you're going to define a dimension on the object, and then you're going to define what you actually want it to be. So right now, if I click on this endpoint, click, and I click on this endpoint, I get 11 feet. Click. Okay, so click, click, 11 feet. But I actually want this to be 20 feet. So I'm going to move my cursor out. Do you see how proportionally I'm getting this dashed echo of this rectangle around, right? I'm getting this dashed representation. That is showing me if I were to click what my rectangle would look like scaled. Okay, so I'm going to click 20 feet, click, and this entire object was scaled based on the fact that this used to be 11 feet and I scaled it up to 20. Okay, let me hit undo, and we're all going to do this together. I'm going to hit undo, click, and I'm going to select this entire object, So to select, I clicked and I held my mouse. I'm still holding my mouse button down. I dragged my selection window over this and I let go. Scale. Click once. Click second time to define. And then a third time with your new dimension. 20, enter. Okay, escape, escape. ZE, zoom extents, right? We're getting very fast. We're zooming in, we're zooming out, we're panning, we're undoing, we're redoing, we're deleting, right? We're selecting using pick, we're selecting using tab, starting to get familiar with all these things, okay? Okay, so that is all I wanted to show you in this video assignment, which is the modification command assignment, okay? So I've already saved this as modification command, and I'm gonna come over here and hit save again, save. And I'm going to close out of this, and that will be your assignment, part B of assignment 5, starting the modeling process. Okay?